And good afternoon, everybody online. Good afternoon, Pooja. Good afternoon, Mahendra. All right. Okay, I see the Rakhi effect working now. All right. Let's see. So, yesterday we stopped having talked till the benefits of Green Revolution. We will begin today talking on challenges of Green Revolution. All right, that is where we will start off with. So, we talk on challenges of Green Revolution. Now, see, when we talk about challenges of Green Revolution, again, few things we need to keep in mind. The challenges developed over a period of time. Always remember that. It was not that challenges happened from first day. So challenges would happen after 20 years, 25 years of making the same mistakes, if I can use the word. You know that when we kept doing the same errors over years and that created the challenges. So always remember that these challenges of green revolution emerged over a period of time. They did not emerge immediately. They emerged over a period of time. They happened over a period of time as we saw them happening in India. Now, when we look at it, the first challenge that we see was that it created or it resulted in lack of crop diversification. All right, so that is the first challenge. It resulted in lack of crop diversification. That was the first challenge it created. It resulted in lack of crop diversification. So India kind of started becoming more like a rice wheat economy. All right, more production of rice, more production of wheat, but there was relatively lesser production of other crops. All right. For example, the amount of rice production increased from 11 million tons in 1951 to 130 million tons by 2022. And that of wheat increased from 6 million tons in 1951 to 110 million tons by 2022. So this is what we saw happening in rice and wheat. Production of rice increased almost 12 times and production of wheat increased almost 18 times. All right, in a span of these 70 odd years. But pulse production increased from 8 million tons in 1951 to 24 million tons by 2022. So pulse production increased, but if you compare it to wheat and rice, it becomes evident that wheat and rice was jumping in its production level. All right, if you compare it to wheat and rice production was jumping up big time. All right, same thing happened with millets. Millet production was around 10 million tons in 1951, rises to 45 million tons by 2021. But again, it didn't take the same jump as wheat and rice. In fact, area under millets came down from 28% of area under millet to 14% of area under millet. All right, so that is what we will highlight here. Similarly, area under millet cultivation decreased from 28% of gross cropped area under food grains to 14% in the same time period. Area under millet cultivation decreased from 28% of gross cropped area under food grains to 14% in the same time period. Moral of the story is that with green revolution and heavy money that people started getting from rice and wheat, it kind of started putting a situation where people were discouraged from growing other crops or diversifying into other crops. All right, they were discouraged from growing other crops or diversifying from going into other crops. That cost us very dear later on. ये शुरुआत में तो नहीं पता चला हमें. अगर हम आज के भारत को देखें तो ये बहुत हमारे लिए गड़बड़ हो गया, because सोचो, think of it, we are supposedly the agricultural economy and we are importing edible oil and we are importing, large staple cotton from other economies which are supposedly industrial like Ukraine or Malaysia or Indonesia. So that shows the contradiction that we have to live with. And that was because of lack of crop diversity. So that was one challenge that Green Revolution created. The second challenge that it created, and these challenges continue to some extent even today, I can believe you have taken this. The second challenge that Green Revolution created too was poor ecological impact. That was the second challenge it created. Poor ecological impact. Ecological impact poor means what it did was it resulted in promoting intensive cultivation without sustainable practices, leading to topsoil erosion, groundwater table depletion, salination of soil. Salinity, I can believe you understand. When the soil has too many minerals, salination of soil and leaching of soil due to excessive use of water, fertilizer, and pesticides. It promoted growth of water-intensive crops like rice in relatively arid regions, like say Saurashtra region growing rice. Big anomaly, shouldn't be happening. So Green Revolution was doing that. All right, that it resulted in promoting intensive cultivation without sustainable practices, leading to topsoil erosion. There is a lot of cultivation, soil won't be left fallow, soil was not binded, trees were cut. Many times the farmers didn't realize that the ancestors had kept the tree on the field because the roots of the tree bind the soil. Now these trees were cut by these people. So obviously the soil binding capacity went down and soil erosion will happen very quickly. All right. Similarly, practices of excessive groundwater use because of the irrigation facilities given. So motor pumps would be used to pump out the groundwater. So groundwater tables started depleting. Excessive fertilizer, excessive pesticide. All that meant that soil will become saline. Uh, Leaching, which is about water being less, so the moisture being pulled up along with the content of the soil. So all that would be a common practice. All right, and that meant over a period of 20, 30 odd years, we had a poor or green revolution kind of started plateauing. The productivity started becoming stagnant. All right, in spite of all inputs being put into it. Yes, yes. No, no. Please understand. If supply rises with rise in productivity and the demand is already there because we were not food sufficient, plus government was offering MSP. You understand that? So it was not that demand was coming to an already saturated market. Demand was coming to a market where there was less, supply was coming to a market where there was less demand. There was less availability. So this supply was needed. And add to that the MSP part. Rice was there, wheat wasn't. Rice demand was there, wheat wasn't. Wheat was not demanded as much in India, barring northwestern India. That is where government started promoting wheat eating by making it fashionable. India did not see breads as we see them today, double roti and bread and all that we see. India did not see all that till the British came to India. And even during the British period, common people wouldn't see all that. So bread was promoted as the rich man's food so that others can pick it up. You understand that? And wheat was very cheap. So that became an easier method of government's public distribution system. That they would distribute a lot of wheat through the PDS, and that popularized wheat eating. Even if you look at India, Eastern India, Southern India, and Western India are not wheat eating places. They're all rice eating places. But then wheat was popularized by design in these areas. And it remained cheap, I repeat, because of excessive production. Also, the finer quality was available, unlike coarser, food, like say jowar, bajra. So that made it convenient for people to eat. And then, of course, see, fashions become very important. And fashions get a lot created by the system you are in. Like say, today's generation, me, you, those who are, I see in our age group, so many of us subconsciously have started aping the West because of what we see on screen. Wine doesn't need to be an Indian household's food material. But we see a Netflix channel, say, there people are taking a glass of wine with their dinner, with their lunch. Then those who are selling wine will make it popular. That look, this is the rich person's thing. This is the in thing. This is something which is done by people who have arrived. And then people say, okay. To arrive, you got to do this. And then it's not that they are copying, but then it is something where they are inspired, if I can use a different term. But once they get inspired, it becomes a fashion, then others see it, others pick it up, and it continues. I mean, if I take you back one generation, okay, let me just tell you this about changing fashion of eating. So you go back 2 generations, and outside eating was almost absent in India. Nobody would eat outside. You understand that? Like if you ask my parents' generation, there was no question about outside eating. It used to be a luxury, a big luxury. Okay, you're going to a restaurant, you're going to... In my generation also, outside eating was luxury. Plus, in my generation, drinking alcohol in public, taboo. No question. You wouldn't be drinking alcohol in public in general, except for some places in India like Punjab. Where it was culturally accepted. But it was otherwise drinking alcohol in public would be a taboo. You are not allowed. You won't do it. You will hide it from your children that you are taking alcohol. But look at your generation, it's all changed. You're doing it in public. Children can share a glass of wine with their parents. You see that? So habits change as the fashions change. So what you make fashionable for people, people will start adapting to it, and the real impact will be felt not today, not tomorrow, but over 15, 20 years of things happening. With wheat, something similar happened. The government started practicing more wheat, because remember, the demand for wheat in India was not created post-Green Revolution. The demand for wheat in India was created with PL 480 scheme, under which Americans will send us food grains. That was wheat, not rice. तो जो PL 480 अमेरिका हमें एड देता था, प्रायोरिटी लेंडिंग 480 उसका नाम था. So Americans will give us that wheat as loan, and that that food grain as loan, and that food grain was wheat. So government had to popularize wheat even before we had the Green Revolution. So by the time Green Revolution happened, the demand had been created. And now there was supply. You understand that? So that is how things emerged, actually. I believe it's more said than done. If we are serious about millets, we won't be giving wheat and rice for free. You see that? If we are giving wheat and rice for free to our people, especially the poor, who can be one of the larger consumers of millets, well, then we cannot increase the demand for millets. All right. No, I said food grain supply was less. If demand would be less, how come we will be a food deficit nation? All right, the demand was there, supply was not there, so we were a food deficit nation. All right. Okay, now we move to the next challenge. Yes. No, we didn't have food, and wheat was not a choice. You mean exporting wheat? No, that was a demand kind of outsourced to us. Many other countries started putting lesser number of people in the agriculture, lesser amount of land in agriculture, but they needed food. And to be honest to you, I don't see the demand for wheat jumping much for Indian wheat. I mean, even at our best situation, we have exported 6 million tons of wheat in an international market which is around 45 million tons. So we have not been a big exporter of wheat internationally. We have been a big exporter of rice, no doubt. 50% of global rice, almost 40% of global rice today we export. But even last year, if you check, when Ukraine was in trouble, our export of wheat was 20% of the global demand. When Ukraine was not in trouble, Russia was not in trouble, they will be the major suppliers of wheat to the world, not us. So our wheat supplies were not as much to the world as what rice supplies have been. All right. Okay, you take the third point then. Third challenge. It increased both inter-regional and interpersonal inequality. You can write this, Venkatesh. Objective of land reforms are those. ठीक है, you can do that. Good afternoon, everyone joining me now. All right. So when you look at this again, so both inter-regional, I'll tell you what. So what did Green Revolution do? It created high productivity in Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh, later on Tamil Nadu and coastal Andhra Pradesh, which meant farmers in these areas still became relatively better off compared to other areas where Green Revolution did not pick up as much. For example, Bihar, Jharkhand, Assam, and parts of Eastern Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and so on. So wherever Green Revolution picked up well, especially Punjab, Haryana, and Western Uttar Pradesh, the governments also started supporting it. They would create structure to purchase these food grains from the farmers, like public distribution shops, Food Corporation of India godowns. So they will purchase this from the farmers. Farmers found it easier to grow and sell it directly to them. And so that was one factor, no doubt. And also what Green Revolution was doing was that it was making it easier for farmers to depend on wheat and rice, get easy loans, produce more, get rich. But areas where the procurement systems were not established, areas where farmers were not trained how to use good quality seeds, etc., were areas which still remained left behind. All right. So in that case, inter-regional inequality increased. That areas with Green Revolution did well, and areas which did not get Green Revolution didn't do that well. Initial stages. Interpersonal inequality, because when we look at this, large farmers became better off post Green Revolution compared to small and marginal farmers as it increased the cost of cultivation and made agriculture relatively more risky. You know, the large farmers became better off post Green Revolution compared to small and marginal farmers as it increased the cost of cultivation and made agriculture relatively more risky. I'll tell you what I mean by that. So, post Green Revolution now, the farmer was expected to buy good quality fertilizer, good quality seeds, good quality pesticides, use them on the field, make investments, earn their resources, plow their crop, and after the cultivation is done, after the crop is harvested, take it to the government, go down, minimum support price, and get it. All right, you get your minimum support price or you get your public distribution system money, and so on. But think, the risk now was that as a farmer, I have to buy irrigation facility, I have to buy seeds, I have to buy fertilizer, I have to buy pesticides, which puts that onus on me. All right, that I take the risk, that I buy these things. Then I go to the field, cultivate my crop, get things done. Now, if I am a rich farmer, I have enough money with which I can buy these things. But if I am a small farmer or a marginal farmer, I will borrow this money from the village money lender, and this village money lender will give it to me at very high interest rate. आपके notes में कोई एक talk है, आप कभी-कभी उसके वजह से परेशान हो सकते हो. इसके लिए use किया जाता है usurious charges. These are very high interest rate. जब money lenders बहुत high interest rate use करते हैं, तो उसे कहा जाता है usurious charges. All right. So there were usurious charges done in those days. Now that meant that as a farmer, I am taking the risk of growing the crop, cultivating things, doing things. But then by chance, if my crop fails, I am in serious trouble because I have no insurance and I have a lot of costly loan to pay back. This started becoming a problem. So many cases what used to happen was that the small farmer or the marginal farmer, in many cases what would happen is that the small farmer or the marginal farmer will start becoming landless labor by selling their land, because एक समय के बाद वो लोन इतना ज़्यादा हो जाता था कि small farmer के पास कोई चारा ही नहीं बचता था. The loans would keep accumulating, and after 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, the loans will become so much that the small farmer will finally sell their land to the bigger farmer and will have to leave agriculture, become a landless labor. So that is what started happening with Green Revolution. In fact, it became more pronounced after liberalization, and I'll tell you the reasons why that happened. But after liberalization, it has become more pronounced, where the risk on the farmer has become even more. So remember, public investment in agriculture would be an important factor, which was the missing link here. Gradually, the government started shifting to subsidy rather than investment. Yes, yes. So, you know, I'm answering a question that wasn't the government giving loans at concessional rate to the farmers? Well, those loans are still given, but you know, the coverage leaves a lot to be desired. Like, I can give a priority sector lending, and I can have a regional rural bank and so on. But again, you know what happens? They are target based loans. So if there is a target based loan that you have to give a 1 crore rupees loan this season. Now I will, as a banker, always find it convenient that I find 10 large farmers and give them 10 lakh rupees loan each, or maybe 20 large farmers and give them 5 lakh rupees loan each, rather than finding 1,000 small farmers and giving them a 1,000 rupees loan or a 10,000 rupees loan. This was a trouble, that we were giving loans, but those loans were also given more to agribusiness enterprises, large farmers, traders. They are all agricultural loans. But these are people who are already better off in agriculture. You see that? So the small farmers remain deprived. Same thing happens when you make a subsidy culture. When you say, I'm giving subsidy on fertilizer, what's the problem with small farmers? The problem is that these small farmers are not getting that entire amount of subsidy because a lot gets siphoned out. Similarly, when we say that we are paying MSP to the farmers, why should the small farmers be bothered? Because if I'm a small farmer growing, say, 1 quintal or half a quintal on my field, I will not have the capacity to carry my product on a tractor or on some other vehicle to a nearby Food Corporation of India, go down and sell it over there. I'll tell you why. Think about a simple factor. I am a small farmer. If you look at India even today, 2023, now of course it was very different 70 years back, but even if or 60 years back, even if I talk about today, the situation is that we have around 2,700 APMC markets with 2,400, sorry, with 4,700 immediate subsidiaries. So in total, there are 7,100 APMC markets. APMC is Agricultural Price and Marketing Committee. So that is the APMC market, registered market where farmers will sell and they can expect to get their MSP. But imagine now 7,100 such markets in a country with 6,80,000 villages. That means 1,000, 100 village for one market. So obviously, if I'm a small farmer, I will not be able to go there. Then the government today, I'm not talking 1960s, I'm talking today. So the government says, don't worry, we are offering you Grameen Rural Agricultural Market. So there are 22,000 grams in India. So 22,000 grams and 7,000 APMC, that still makes it 29,000 for 7 lakh villages. Now that's still, a large number, something like 20:1 ratio. Then the government says, okay, we'll give you APMC mandis, small mandis near the villages. These mandis are another 44,000. But still imagine, it is 73,000 total government market space over 7 lakh villages, which means one market for over 10 villages. If I am a farmer who is growing half a quintal, traveling across a radius of 10 villages to sell my product is infeasible for me. So these things look great on paper when we don't know the system at times. Then we feel, oh, farmers के लिए ये भी हो गया, वो भी हो गया, किसान भाइयों की मदद हो गई. किसान भाइयों में जो महाभाई लोग हैं, जो सच में भाई हैं, उनकी मदद हो रही है. Those who are rich, those who are better off, I mean, again, those of you who are going back to your village, if you see things there, if you are a small farmer or a medium scale farmer also, you don't even go anywhere to sell your crop. The trader comes to your field, buys your crop, and the trader will put a price on your crop, and you don't have much of a choice because every trader is putting similar price on your crop. तो किसान के पास फ्रीडम टू सेल नहीं, ना उस वक्त था ना अभी है. तो ये एक दिक्कत क्रिएट करता है इंडिया में, और अभी आपको डिटेल में समझाऊंगा व्हेन आई एम डूइंग इंडिया आफ्टर 91 विथ यू. बट अंडरस्टैंड दिस. सो गवर्नमेंट फैसिलिटीज आर देयर एंड ऑफ कोर्स दे आर मेकिंग अ डिफरेंस फॉर सम पीपल. But the problem with government facilities is they are not substantially there to actually reach out to those who are the real deprived or the small scale people in agriculture. Yes, yes. Sown area is on the basis of irrigation facility. And gross cropped area is number of crops that you grow on it. No, please understand this. If on one area, okay, take this room. If in this one room, I conduct 4 classes in a day, then what is the utility size of this room? Equal to its net size or equal to 4 times its net size? That's the idea of gross cropped area. That if I am growing 3 crops in a year on one field, then effectively I'm using 3 fields, no? In the whole year. Hence we count it as 3 fields, like that. All right. Now, there is another thing. So you understand the risk factor here, and that is where it became kind of anti-small farmers. Yes, yes. Yeah. See, so, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, but I get your question. So, you know what happens? That if it is a small farmer, then ideally either get them together. Apart from that, there should not be so many small farmers. I mean, if I'm cultivating a 1 acre field, my productivity is so low I cannot even properly feed myself, my family. So I should have an alternative. So that is a challenge. When I will teach you India after 91, there are so many things to tell you. But in India, we have an issue. Some of us are in love with poverty. So we don't let people escape it. मैं एग्जाम्पल देता हूं, हम क्या बोलते हैं, हमें छोटे किसानों को बचाना चाहिए. नहीं, हमें छोटे किसानों को अपलिफ्ट कर देना चाहिए ताकि उन्हें छोटी किसानी करनी ही ना पड़े. बचाना क्यों चाहिए? Why perpetuate inefficiency? So don't perpetuate inefficiency. Remove the inefficiency link and make them efficient. So then the talk will become more focused on equity with efficiency. We have created a system where we have made you guys believe, by you guys I don't mean necessarily you, but many of us in our country, that there is some conflict between efficiency and equity. No, there is no conflict between efficiency and equity, provided we go for equitable growth. If we go only for growth, then the conflict is obvious. But if I go for inclusive growth and give my farmers accessibility to resources, allow them to choose their profession and change from being a farmer, you will have efficiency with equity. So the point I'm trying to make is, if there are 7 crore people in India who are landless agricultural labor, that in itself is a shame. And add to that another 9 crore people who are farmers with less than 2.5 acres of land. You see that? So that is something we should be careful about. Yes, so either we can have farmer producer organizations or cooperatives, or maybe partnerships that can be developed. Otherwise also make sure that if I'm a very small farmer, at least my next generation is trained sufficiently that they don't have to be small farmers, and there should be enough entrepreneurial and investment systems in India so that if they choose not to be very small farmers or landless labor, they can choose to be an industrial worker. You understand that? So that is the missing link in India regarding, imagine this is 21st century India, 46.5% of the workforce still in agriculture. That is not, welcome at all. That is the retrogression we face. All right, then you take, and believe me, each line that I am telling you, I keep seeing your doubts on the group, and I appreciate that many of you are trying to solve it in your limited domain. But I will be answering each of these points as I teach you paper 1 and further paper 2. You will get much clearer. Right now we are just getting into economics, understanding things a little bit, but gradually I will be making it bit more upgraded, where you will get to know, okay, what did I mean when I said something over here. That is the purpose of teaching you parts of paper 2 first. That when I teach you paper 1, you will get, okay, when I teach you balance of payment in paper 1, you will get the basic ideas of things, say even dual gap. And dual gap is a whole theory which I will teach you with development economics. All right, so we will be doing all that as we proceed. But it's completely okay. In fact, I enjoy some of your answers also, when I see them, that, okay, you're trying good enough to make sense out of what is happening. But believe me, if I am quiet somewhere when you ask me about a doubt, and if I'm quiet or if I'm deliberately answering in one-liner, that's because more has to come. So you would see sometimes you will receive my answers in one-liners, that I'll give you a one-line answer that this is the thing. But that's deliberate again, because more will come later. And another thing is that if by chance you sent me a question today morning, but you may not have got a reply till now, or maybe till even yesterday night, some of answers I could not give, because I've been a little occupied with my research and then my classes since morning. By tonight, I will be giving you the reply to your questions if you had asked me on WhatsApp or Telegram. All right, now coming back to this, so this was another challenge that we saw, rising inter-regional and rising interpersonal inequality. The fourth challenge that we see with Green Revolution it developed capitalist farming structure without the institutions that could promote it. In fact, the later support of government further increased the contradiction. I will be teaching you how we dealt with these challenges, what can be done to deal with it. Right now, you give me some time, we will be going into that with Prakash. Inter-regional inequality was Jagriti, that Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, which had comparatively become better, have now, because of better support by the government and more cropping done compared to other regions of India. Father of the Green Revolution, because he was the one who pushed the idea, he was the one who found the seed, M.S. Swaminathan. Yes, the benefits have been majorly confined to large farmers, Shaista. That's my job, no, Bhumika? I have to remember data to eat my living. She was asking me, how do you know so many data on each point? Because that's my job, I'm a researcher, got to remember them. Yes, yes. Come again. Let me teach you that, and I'll tell you why FPOs can solve it rather than APMC mandis. More importantly, FPOs will give the power to farmers to bargain. APMC mandis rather take away that power. But let me reach there sequentially when I'm teaching you India after 91. अभी बहुत सारी बातें तुम नहीं जानते इन चीज़ों के बारे में, तो जब वो जानते रहोगे और तब मैं बोलूँगा ना, you will get me better. But FPO means farmer producer organization, where small farmers, medium farmers come and make a group together. They have a better bargaining power. APMC mandis are those where only government licensed traders will operate. Now these licensed traders cartelize with each other and they make sure that they all offer less price to the farmer. So obviously APMC mandis have become comparatively a less efficient place compared to what can be done otherwise in India. You know? Yes, yes. I said that we have around 2,400 APMC markets with 4,700 subsidiaries. So that makes it around 7,100 APMC markets. And then we have 22,000 gram, 22,400 actually, gram. And then we have around 44,000 mandis. All right, so that's around 73,000 agricultural markets in totality that help in India. All right. No, so APMC markets are big spaces. There will be one in maybe one big whole district. And mandis will be across every 5-10 villages. They are very small spaces. That is what mandis are. All right. APMC markets are also called mandis, but they are actually very big spaces headquartered in one of the district headquarters and so on. But these small mandis are near the village sites. No, the difference, the function is both of them will buy, but APMC markets will have licensed traders, big traders. The farmers go there to sell their product. Mandis will be local in nature. All right, so they will have localized trading system. I'm coming to that. I'll tell you what we are saying here. So let's understand this point. What do I mean by that? Yes, yes. Inter-regional difference as in? Yes, Punjab and Haryana were doing much better than other states. There were, but let's not go that side right now. There were differences. For example, the riparian areas of Punjab, which will have more river support and canal support, did better than the non-riparian areas. All right. Haryana's regions closer to Delhi's side, the eastern Haryana, comparatively did worse than western Haryana. So there were inter-regional problems, but UPSC will never push you that side. You know, even in the weirdest of dreams, they'll never do that. All right. Now, coming to this further, what does this point mean? Think. What was Green Revolution saying? You have your field, you grow your crops, all right? You have your field, you grow your crops, you sell those crops in the market, earn your money, grow rich. That was the basic idea of a capitalist green revolution system. Capitalist आइडेंटिटी का मतलब क्या हुआ? फार्मर्स को बोले कि आप ये हाई यील्डिंग वैरायटी ऑफ सीड्स लीजिए, you take fertilizers, you take pesticides, and so on, and you grow more. That is what the Green Revolution was suggesting. All right. So effectively, the meaning was that, okay, we are giving you good technology, and you have the land, you develop them, sell it. That's a typical capitalist idea. But in a capitalist system, what do you need to take? A risk. The farmers needed to take a risk, and it had to be farmers' risk, that if I grow more and get better money, I'll get better money. If I grow badly, get less money, that will be my risk. And government could have created institutions like insurance support. Government could have created institutions like credit support, extension services like research and development support. But what did we do? So we create a system where government says you produce and you compete among each other. Why capitalist is what I'm using. Large farmer, small farmer, everybody got to compete with each other to sell their product to the market. So government says you compete with each other, you produce your wheat and rice, but we promise you an assured market through the minimum support price system. So on one hand, I'm saying rich farmer, poor farmer, large farmer, small farmer, everybody competes. They buy their inputs, they produce their output, and all of you can come and sell. And that sounds like a capitalist system, that okay, to each their own, and you try your own, and whosoever grows better will be rewarded by this market. And then suddenly what we do is the market itself gets usurped. You understand that? The market is now taken control by the government, which means that now the government says we will buy whosoever brings to us. So if I am a large farmer, I will be getting an assured sale. I am also knowing that I will get better credit. I'm also knowing I will get better marketing support. And that implies that I am definitely becoming better off, sometimes at the cost of the small farmers. Do I believe I reach you on that? So now I read the line, you understand it. It developed capitalist farming structure. Now what was that capitalist farming structure? That government will not interfere in supporting the poor farmers more and the rich farmers less. All right, the capitalist farming structure was, government was following kind of a laissez-faire, non-interference in the market when it came to choice of production. आपको जो मर्जी आप प्रोड्यूस करिए, आपको जो मर्जी आप compete कर सकते हैं, आप जितना प्रोड्यूस करेंगे आप बेच सकते हैं, तो freedom दी उस तरह से. But the institutions that could promote it were missing. What could have been the institutions? Insurance support, credit support, so good banking facility. अब सोचो NABARD नहीं था 1960s में, NABARD आया 1981 में. अगर आपके मन में आया नहीं सर इंस्टीट्यूशन सपोर्ट तो था, लेंडिंग होती थी, बाद में हम बात कर रहे हैं हम लोग 60s की, early 70s की. Institutions were missing. By the time NABARD came in, by the time regional rural banks came in, the rich farmers had had 10 years of glory days. Understand that? So that was 1970s India or late 60s India. So institutions were the missing link. There was no institution there which could have supported the smaller ones. And supposedly we were saying everybody should compete, we are getting a free market. And later on, how did we interfere? By 1966, 67 onwards itself, we said, yeah, okay, so to protect the farmers, we are willing to buy everything you bring to us, and we are willing to pay you a compensation for that. And that meant, again, if I am a large farmer, I am in a position where I can come to you and sell those things. As a small farmer, I don't have much of a choice again. So that created not only more inequality, it created contradiction. What kind of contradiction? I take the risk as a farmer, and you pay the brunt as a government if my risk goes bad. Understand that? हम लोग अपने बड़े किसानों को भी आज तक जिम्मेदार किसान नहीं बना पाए हैं. और धीरे धीरे हालत इतनी खराब हो गई है कि अब जिम्मेदारी लेने की हालत ही नहीं बची. Responsible farmers, what does that mean? Responsible farmers means I will do my cost benefit calculation. I will try finding out which is the best crop for me. I will choose not that crop where the government is offering me an MSP, but I can choose a crop doing market research. This is something what a capitalist system would do. So we were telling our farmers, grow freely, we won't interfere, choose your crop, we won't interfere, but indirectly we were interfering in everything. We were telling them, we will give you subsidy on fertilizer, we will give you subsidy on food grains, we will give you subsidy on rice and wheat more than other crops. So now we are influencing their decision and we are not creating institutions to let them grow. तो या तो हम कैपिटलिस्ट फार्मिंग करते जहां हम कहते हैं आपकी जमीन, आपकी फसल, आप बेचिए, मार्केट में फ्री है, या सोशलिस्ट फार्मिंग करते जहां कहते हैं हमारी जमीन, हमारी मतलब सरकार की, कलेक्टिवाइजेशन, हम आपको इंस्ट्रक्शन देंगे क्या ग्रो करना है, वही ग्रो कीजिए, हम लेंगे आपसे वापस और आप में बांट देंगे. हमने दोनों का खिचड़ी बना दिया. So we introduced a capitalist system where, again I repeat, where we said that you grow your crop and land will be yours, expenditure will be yours, and you can then think about earning profit. And midway we change things and we say, okay, hang on, but what we will have is a socialist system of support where we will buy your product and we will help you in getting better off and we will give you subsidies on products. And that meant that the farming got distorted and the rich farmers in India, to a great extent, started feeling and even today feel entitled to receive subsidies. उनको लगता सब्सिडी मिलना ही चाहिए, क्यों नहीं मिलेगा मुझे? और हम बड़ी बड़ी बातों से वो सब्सिडी जस्टिफाई करते हैं. फार्मर से हमारे घर का खाना आता है, उनको सब्सिडी मिलना जरूरी है. बिल्कुल जरूरी है, हमारे घर का खाना आता है, पर उनको इनएफिशिएंट बना के सब्सिडी क्यों दें? द पॉइंट इज दैट why can't we give them subsidies which can make them efficient? And you give me another half an hour and I will tell you how we can do that, or maybe 45 minutes. But investment in agriculture is more important than giving all these subsidies and creating the entitled farmers that we have created in India to a great extent today, and that also limited to certain regions of India. क्योंकि जो large farmers हैं, big farmers हैं, उन्हें ही entitlement है कि नहीं मुझे मिलना चाहिए, और वो छोटे किसानों के पीछे छिपते हैं. वो तो देखो ये छोटे किसान कितने वल्नरेबल हैं. वो तो वल्नरेबल हैं ही, पर सब्सिडी उन तक कहां पहुंच रही है? The small farmers are vulnerable and they are not getting the subsidy, and the rich farmers are not vulnerable and they are getting the subsidy. That creates a distortion in Indian market till today, started here. Yes, yes. I'll tell you that. As I told you, give me 45 minutes. I'll tell you that. Basic idea is invest more in agriculture. All right, let everybody pay their cost, and if government invests, the overall cost of production comes down. All right, but we will discuss it. Let me come sequentially. Okay, so I'll summarize it better for you. What we did was, we said that you produce based on your land holding, and we will not take away your land, and we will give you all freedom to produce the crop, etc. But when the crop is produced, then you sell only to me. You understand that? That becomes the challenge part. Either you produce on your own and sell to whosoever you want, or I will decide what you will produce and then you sell to me. You understand that? So the contradiction came in there. That was the challenge. All right. Then the next challenge that Green Revolution created, fifth, it resulted in displacement of workers as they were replaced by machines to increase overall productivity. You give me a second, I'll just be back. शुक्र हम लोग तो एसी को कर सकते हैं कूल, और रूम थोड़ा सा भट्टी जैसा प्रतीत हो रहा है. ठीक है. एसी को थोड़ी देर के लिए ऑन कर दो. अच्छा, ठीक है, हाँ. Oh, I forgot closing. ठीक है. All right, let's see this. Now, I thought that it's becoming too stuffy, so for some time, I know you will feel a little cold in a little while. Then we can always make the rectification. But if it remains like that, it will be very stuffy. You are 250 people sitting here, and it's a closed room. I don't want anybody to collapse. You know, unnecessarily, people will blame my teaching. There was one day an incident that happened. It was early morning. I think it was at the main building of Next IAS. It was early morning, and there was a girl who fainted in the class. And I was narrating it to my wife. I told her that, today morning a girl fainted in my class, and she said, "Why do you teach like that?" You know, so I don't want that risk to happen again. So I just thought that let's have some cool thing in over here. So once the room is a little cooled, I think all of us will find it better. अब ज़्यादा ठंड लगेगी तो फिर हम उसको थोड़ा बंद कर लेंगे. All right. Coming to this again, so we say displacement of workers because farmers knew that more machines will give them higher benefit. So more machines will imply that it will result in comparatively higher production, more sale, more returns. But then it also meant that workers and cattle both would be displaced. In fact, according to Ramesh Chand et al. Is Ramesh Chand and a group of economists. It is estimated that more than 2 lakh workers and more than 1 lakh cattle have been displaced post Green Revolution. The challenge is that we did not have the capitalist system of capitalist institutions to promote farming, but we introduced capitalist system of giving freedom to the farmers to grow what they want and private property on village land. And then we introduced a socialist policy of the government that they will buy whatever the farmers produce. That became the challenge actually. I hope Devashish you got the point. Yes, the small local markets do result in increasing the price, Vikas. Farm laws will come much later, Manish. Net employment was negative, Adarsh. फिर से बताना मुझे. एटाल का मतलब बाकी के इकोनॉमिस्ट, ग्रुप ऑफ इकोनॉमिस्ट ने किया था सर्च. मान लो जैसे मैं और तुम मिलकर करें ना तो मैं लिख दूंगा विभास झा एटाल. Alright. Yes, provided the workers get alternative jobs. But that was not happening. That was the challenge. All right, that is why you will see still too many workers in unorganized sector and so on. All right, so this is again, the challenges of Green Revolution, and then there was one more that it discouraged. Sixth, it discouraged growth of institutions for credit support, marketing support, extension services. Extension services are things like weather report, soil report, seed purchase, etc. Due to complacency among policy makers. You know, with Green Revolution, in fact, other institutional reforms like other institutional reforms like land reforms also got ignored. This was the challenge that we saw. Yes, they have tried controlling the market by law. There has been impact on women. You will see more working by women rather than earlier, and gradually as farmers became rich, the women on the field started decreasing. No, it did not displace workforce from industries to agriculture, Harshit. I think that won't be a correct thing. During GR, it started happening, Ankit. All right. Now see, understand the institutional flaw. What does an institution do? An institution will give you support with continuity. So land reforms missing. Similarly, nobody tried developing insurance facility for the farmers. Nobody tried developing microcredit institutions so that small farmers can be reached out to. Nobody tried developing institutions for facilities related to help to the farmers directly at their home. For example, marketing support where things could be picked up. Imagine even today we don't talk about contract farming as much, and if we talk, many people get upset about it. You know, even today we don't talk about removing the system of farmer being forced to sell only at APMC. You know, even today what do we say? We say let's legalize minimum support price and all that. So the institutions to create a modern agriculture went missing because everybody was happy and complacent that okay, in any case, farming is doing well, production is rising. So what is the problem? Let's not bother about other reforms. All right, educating the farmers about the crop that they are growing. So अब सोचो 2016 में आकर हमने किया प्रधानमंत्री सॉइल हेल्थ कार्ड स्कीम. ये 40 साल पहले होना चाहिए. 2015 में आके करते हैं प्रधानमंत्री कृषि सिंचाई योजना. You understand that? These are things we should have done long back so that institutional reforms happen. These are institutions that you create institutional system by which you reach out to the farmers and support them. You know, institutions like an ENAM, say, Electronic National Agricultural Market. Now, the talk about a national agricultural market should have happened again 40 years back. Why should India's agricultural market be divided or segmented among state governments? I mean, imagine if Maharashtra can do industry better, and Tamil Nadu can do industry better, and Bihar can do agriculture better, then that is how a country should be run, no? But Tamil Nadu giving its field to agriculture, Maharashtra giving its field to agriculture, in the fear that what if the other state doesn't give it to me? Then we become less united than the European Union. EU remains more united than us. तो ऐसा देश थोड़ी बनाने का मोटिव तो होना चाहिए था. ये हमने लेकिन इग्नोर किया इन बातों को. We ignored these things, and that resulted in again implying that over a period green revolution plateaued. If the farmers don't get independent marketing facility, credit facility. By credit facility, remember again, it doesn't mean only the priority sector lending. As I just told you, that doesn't reach the small farmers. So what do we do to reach the small farmers? What we do to reach the small farmers is create microcredit institutions. Self-help group India में बनते ही नहीं थे 20 साल पहले तक, 15 साल पहले तक. ये बाद की डेवलपमेंट हुई सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप. तो ये चीजें बनानी उस वक्त हो जाती अगर हमें ग्रीन रिवॉल्यूशन ने कंप्लेसेंट नहीं किया होता. ग्रीन रिवॉल्यूशन kept us complacent. All right, that was the problem. Yes, yes. So that is the focus till today also. We are still living with the hangover of a shortage. You are completely correct in what you are saying, that the focus was macro and the focus was quantitative. That let's have enough quantity in hand and let's do it at a macro level. Who produces it, we don't mind. And where does it come from, we don't mind. And whether the farmers actually get uplifted, we don't mind. But if it is solving my short-term issue, and I can understand it in those days when we were pretty frustrated due to lack of food. But gradually, as that lack of food stopped becoming an issue, we should have thought about institutional reforms. But remember, we are a quantitative system. Till things are not creating trouble for us, and if quantity looks good, even today, look at it, what we do. So even today, we are talking about 300 million tons plus of food grains. And we say, look, India has developed such a superpower. We are producing more than 300 million tons of food grain. We are not asking a question, what do we do with it? And we don't ask a question, why are our farmers dumping their crop on the ground if things are fine in Indian agriculture? So this is the challenge per se that we face, that quantitative ideas dominate and institutional mechanisms develop you over a longer period. That is the idea. They may not give you immediate success, but over a longer period you do better. Even today, forget again 1970s and 80s, even today, according to RBI Financial Stability Report, June 2023, 47% of total loans in agriculture in India, 53%, sorry, 53% of total loans in agriculture in India are from the informal units like money lenders. So you can imagine the lack of formalization. Even today, 52% of total gross cropped area in India is under irrigation facility, net cropped area, sorry, is under assured irrigation. So there is almost half of Indian net cropped area which is not under assured irrigation. So we are still keeping it agriculture as a gamble in monsoon. Monsoon अच्छा हो गया तो agriculture अच्छा हो गया, agriculture अच्छा हो गया तो industry अच्छी हो गई, चलो बल्ले बल्ले हो गया. और कोई एक चीज गड़बड़ हुई तो धराशायी हो गए. So we are still making it a gamble in monsoon. That if monsoon does well, India does well. That is the challenge. And again, I repeat, we need to understand that we are a surplus managed economy today. How do we manage our surpluses? So that is the challenge India today faces. Again, institutionalization is lacking, so it goes bad that ways. Yes, yes. Non-basmati rice. We are internally scared, no, that we will have a shortage without checking the numbers. Same happens with wheat. When you don't check the numbers, that is what will happen. When you don't do diligent research, that is what will happen. I again repeat, as a functioning economist with all conviction, and some of you were there with me last year in the GS group, and you would recall throughout the year I kept saying that wheat is not in shortage in India. And finally, I was proven right in February when government released 4 million tons of wheat in March to sell it to the market. They could have done that earlier and stabilized the price, and there was no shortage of wheat at all. And I hope some of you would recall that I would keep saying it throughout the year, there is no shortage, showing you all calculations on the board. And I say the same this year, that there is no shortage of rice in India. We can easily export 10 to 15 million tons, even 20 million tons, without blinking an eye. Because India even today has a rice storage of 55 million tons, while according to Commission on Agricultural Cost and Prices, CACP, the minimum we need on 1st of July is 22 million tons. We have 33 million tons more, and our Kharif crop expected in October. What are we worried about? God knows. Maybe elections. And then we say, but some of you can say that, sir, but if there is so much surplus of wheat and rice, how come prices are rising? Because of high minimum support price. If I keep increasing the minimum support price by 10% every year, it's automatic for prices in the market to rise by 10%. You're giving me the cushion like that. And you're saying, how come the prices are rising? There is no rocket science in it, provided you are educated. And not only literate. So we are doing what we are doing. And then we are confusing it with high demand. No, if there was high demand, we wouldn't have kept so much of rice in the food grain go down. Understand that. Yes, yes. No, fertilizer and electricity subsidy became more dominant around 90s. I'll teach you that. Yes, yes. I'll give you, take a minute. Okay, okay. So I'm answering a question that why did government put a restriction on farmers that they will be allowed to sell product only to the government? It was thought that this way the farmers will be saved from exploitation. That if farmers can be, if the government fixes the people who will buy from the farmers and give licenses to them, then that will save the farmers from being exploited in the market. Unfortunately, what transpired was the opposite. All right, that those who were given license by the government got together and they would then bribe even the minister Saab, and end of the day, the farmer will be the exploited one. Well, they can, but the point is APMC gives you an assured sale. APMC gives you an assured sale, no? So you prefer doing that. And many cases what happens is that outside the APMC you don't get a very high price also because the traders play with the market. So they have this store, things in their store. And when the time comes that they have to purchase things, they also release commodity from their store, which means that market prices slump and farmers are willing to sell at whichever price they demand. See, if they're getting outside the market higher price, government will never stop them. But larger question is that what is that outside the market? Where do they sell? Where is the alternative market? यही तो हमारे एग्रीकल्चरल रिफॉर्म भी जो बिल जो आए थे उनमें काफी अच्छी बातें थी, पर यही गलती वो कहते थे किसान कहीं भी बेच सकते हैं। कहाँ? कहीं भी। अब सोच के देखिए कहीं भी मतलब क्या होता है, बताना पड़ेगा ना कहाँ। तुम्हारी क्लास कहीं भी है, यहां नहीं है, कहां पर है सर? कहीं भी। तो तुम कहीं भी कैसे आओगे क्लास करने? तुम्हें तो बताना पड़ेगा कि यहां नहीं है तो कहां है। अगर तुम यहां क्लास नहीं करना चाहते तो कहीं भी कर सकते हो। You understand that? That was the challenge of our bill that we had passed. That we are not giving an, even today that is the challenge, that farmers know the APMC market. Now if you tell them sell outside the APMC market, where? And it's very immature to say anywhere. जब तुम नहीं जानते होगे एग्रीकल्चर मार्केट के बारे में तो ऐसे स्टेटमेंट दोगे कि कहीं भी बेच दो। आपको नॉर्मल एक पढ़ाई करने आना होता है, आप ओल्ड राजेंद्र नगर क्यों आते हो यूपीएससी की तैयारी करने? क्योंकि ये मार्केट है। यू नो दैट ओके ऑल द इंस्टीट्यूट्स आर हियर and I can roam around and I'll get information, I can find out who teaches well, who doesn't teach well. That is what one example of a market is. Imagine if all these IAS institutions are scattered over all over Delhi. There will be no market. You don't know where to go, what to do. And that makes a segmented market with very asymmetric information. So that is where, and then think we're talking farmers, many of them would be undereducated. That is the challenge you would have. Yes, yes. Both. Both. I'm saying do both. And rather a better thing is don't grow so much rice. If you ask me what is better, don't grow so much rice. India doesn't need it. It's not that ethanol is a game changer or export is a game changer. Why should we export rice, a water intensive crop, but in spite of being a water scarce country? Makes no sense. लेकिन अब प्रोड्यूस कर ही रहे हैं तो कुछ तो करोगे उसका. The point is that if you're producing, you'll do something about it. But if you ask me, what is your advice? Don't grow so much rice and don't grow so much wheat. India doesn't need it. Grow more oil seeds. Grow more fruits, vegetables. India would need that. Do more poultry. Give more land for industries. There is something called productivity in this world. Our productivity is half of that of the Chinese, 1/4 that of the South Koreans, and 1/8 that of the Americans. Even if we don't reach the American level and reach the South Korean level, it will mean we will need 4 times lesser land and 4 times lesser people, and still we will produce the same amount of food grains which we are producing today. Why don't we try achieving that than sticking with the 1940s norm? Your father chose a service in 1980s. Will that be necessarily correct if you do the same in 2023? That is the logic you are asking me. Think of it. Green Revolution happened 1966. It's 57 years. Do we want to live with the same logic? Why should that be wrong at that time? We were a food shortage country. उस वक्त क्यों गलत होगा, लेकिन आज भी वही क्यों करते रहे, ये समझो ना। अब समझना ये है कि जो चीज 50 साल पहले सही थी वो 50 साल बाद गलत हो सकती है। यस यस। Well, I'll teach you that. Let me reach there sequentially. Government says this is for food security, which is quite paradoxical. It's like I am dying of hunger, telling you that please, I want food, and you are telling me, don't worry, I have enough for your security. They advise them so much. You know, it depends on whether they accept the advice. I mean, there are newspaper writings, there are filings to the government. There's so many things done. In fact, recently when they banned rice exports, three of us gave them a written thing that this is the situation. Why are you banning it? But if it goes to the dustbin, what do you do? You know, that becomes a challenge. No? Yes, yes. तुमने हाथ खड़ा किया था? Yes, yes. फ्री में ही बेचना चाहिए, ओपन मार्केट में फ्री में सप्लाई कर दें, लेकिन टाइम से करें। डिले कर देते हैं सप्लाई में, नहीं करते हैं। किसने बताया तुम्हें? कब? कब? कब बताया मैंने ऐसा तुम्हें? हाँ, तो वही तो कह रहा हूं कि एक साथ फरवरी में बेचा ना। अब एक साथ 4 मिलियन टन फरवरी में बेचने की जगह अगर 4-4 लाख टन 10 महीने में बेचते तो बेहतर होता। समझे ये बात? ये कह रहा हूं। ऑलराइट, ओके। If you don't have industrial development and you don't have a job, think of it. Still would like to live in the jungle? Think of it. There is no conflict between development and ecology again. That's again a falsified understanding. So we do that and we industrialize. With a country where all of you are unemployed, do you think we don't need to industrialize? That is the point. That only forests cannot be an answer. It has to be a balanced approach. Let us reach there, I'll tell you. But again, forest is not the only answer. It's not that you develop forest everywhere and on the agricultural land and you do well. We got to give you employment too. Who says that? No, but that happened in 40s and 50s, no? But today you have conserved areas. The forest cover in India is rising comparatively. And I'm saying that those areas which are in agriculture right now in the middle of the village, you can't have a forest. You understand? Maybe I'm not getting you. And how about extra people who have come since then? But that is the point, that you are confusing between development and ecology as two conflicting ideas. They are not. You can have something which is called sustainable development. So why take them as a conflict? It is not that if you develop, you got to have. It's like me saying that let's switch off these ACs because they are creating chlorofluorocarbon emissions. Well, in any case, you would die. You know? So we got to understand we need a balance between what we are doing and how do we make sure that what we are doing doesn't become transgressive on the nature. And I'll teach you that. You will have to give me time. Let me teach you environmental economics and we will be coming to that. Yes, yes. I'm so sorry. एक बार फिर बोलोगे, मैं खांसने लग गया बीच में. ठीक है. बिल्कुल ठीक कह रहे हो। तो कोल्ड स्टोरेज चेन होंगे या सब वेयर हाउसेस होंगे तो बेटर ऑफ होंगे किसान। लेकिन उसकी बात करूंगा, मुझे इंडिया आफ्टर 91 पे आने दो। ये बात करेंगे दैट हाउ टू मेक फार्मर्स बेटर ऑफ टुडे, ठीक है। लेकिन जो तुम कह रहे हो उसमें गलत नहीं है कि जो फार्मर्स हैं उन्हें अगर हम मार्केटिंग सपोर्ट दें, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर सपोर्ट दें, वी कैन मेक देम बेटर ऑफ। पर अभी ये बात करूंगा, थोड़ा सा रुक जाओ, लेट अस कम बैक टू दिस। Getting enough amount. No, why? If you support the poor, why will the rich be hurt? There is no zero sum game. Why? The difficulty will only be the gradual pain that why is somebody else developing apart from me. Absolutely. Even today we can do that. You know? Yes, yes. Well, it gradually got extended to Tamil Nadu or Andhra Pradesh, even Karnataka, Bihar, and other places. But the productivity increase that was observed in Haryana and Punjab and Western Uttar Pradesh was not seen anywhere else. Sorry. No, no, it continues. I'm coming to that. Now, yes, yes. Is you want to switch this off? Do one thing. Ritikesh, can you help me with one thing? Tell them to increase the temperature. That will be a better idea. I have one more suggestion for all of you to solve any kind of an issue. See, we are gradually entering September. This is a season when some of you will feel hot, some of you will feel cold. We will keep playing AC in the classroom. All right. So my suggestion is that those of you who are sensitive to cold can carry a wind cheater or a small, a thin jacket. So whenever you feel that it's getting too cold, just put it across yourself. All right. And those of you who feel not so cold can wear the normal clothes that you wear. I can't take you beyond that. You know. So in that case, just go on like that. Believe me, it helps. If you can just think about what I'm saying, because all of us have our own sensitivities. All right. So given our sensitivities, just check what is your sensitivity. And another thing is, avoid sitting directly below the AC if you are someone who is sensitive to that cold. Oh, great. So tell them to turn it off, this one maybe. All right, so just do that. It will help us in resolving at least this allocation issue. All right, let's see this then. We come back to another point then, that with so much of things happening, what was it that India would like to do? Again, remember, Green Revolution showed by 1990s, the Green Revolution started plateauing in India. It reached a plateau, it reached a place after which it was not coming down, all right, but it was not going up too. So we reached 150 million tons in 1991. We reached 200 million tons of food grain production by 2005. That is how it was going. So then the government appointed a committee under Professor M.S. Swaminathan again. Professor M.S. Swaminathan committee. This was appointed in 2004, and the committee submitted its report in 2005. All right, they appointed a committee in 2004, and the committee submitted its report in 2005. And the committee suggested, the Swaminathan committee suggested few things. And they said that we need technological reforms and we need institutional reforms to bring evergreen revolution. We need technological reforms and we need institutional reforms to bring evergreen revolution. If you increase the minimum support price, Yashwant, then obviously farmers are assured of that price. Then obviously the price in the market will also increase. We will be discussing India after 91. There, all your questions that you are asking me, we will be discussing that. They are not sleeping, Venkatesh, but unfortunately they don't know. That is the problem. Like you also know you got to study, no, but you don't do it every day. So it's about, we know sometimes what has to be done, but we may not have the desire or sometimes the courage to do the right thing. I'll talk about it, Simran. Let's talk India after 91 in steps rather than otherwise. All right. Now, when we talk about this evergreen revolution, I'm giving you a write-up. You please take that. All right, because this is something they can ask us again in the exam. So you write in that, evergreen revolution implies sustainable agriculture, which provisions higher return with stable income to the farmers. It requires a combination of technological reforms and institutional reforms. And you give a heading, technological reforms, and within that you write 1, better soil health, technological reforms, and then better soil health. I'll try doing it, Prerna. I think that will be a good idea. No, I have no idea of entering politics, Samit, at all. Not meant for that. All right. Okay, let's see this. When we talk about better soil health, there are a few things we need to do for that. So I'm taking it one by one. You write within that, Professor Ashok Gulati, he is one of the best agricultural economists we have. He works at ICRIAR. Very often, every alternative Monday, you will see his article in Indian Express. But otherwise, he does many other work in agriculture. And he has given some good suggestions regarding what India should do to promote agriculture. I will be sharing with you all the relevant ones as I go on teaching you. All right. So you write, Professor Ashok Gulati suggested brown revolution, and put brown revolution within inverted comma, brown revolution, that is taking active steps to promote soil health and encourage the farmers to choose crops which match soil requirements. Encourage the farmers to choose crops which match soil requirements. In the same point you write, it also needs to train the farmers. It also needs to train the farmers to not only choose right macronutrients. Right macronutrients. When I say macronutrients, I mean nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, NPK. All right, so macronutrients are those which any field needs: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. All right, NPK. So right macronutrients, but also right amount of micronutrients like calcium, sulfur, iron, etc. So this is one thing that Professor Gulati has suggested. He has said that India should now look for a brown revolution implying that make sure that soil quality is made better and farmer is informed about that soil quality so that better cropping patterns can evolve. All right. Then you write second point, like this was the first point. Then you write second point, better quality seeds. That's second, technological revolution. Better quality seeds. And within that, you write better quality seeds. This can be developed through seed development programs. In coordination with Indian Agricultural Research Institutes, you can call it IARI, Indian Agricultural Research Institutes, and with input from farmers. So that's another thing that can be done, that talk to the farmers, check what kind of seeds will be better, and then go to IARI. IARI in any case keeps developing various types of seeds, hybrid, non-hybrid, and so on, and try developing those seeds which can increase productivity, which can be drought resistant, which can be excessive moisture resistant. All right, that kind of seeds can be developed. In the same thing you continue writing, you write, there should be development of better storage capacity. There should be development of better storage capacity for seeds and training the farmers regarding regular replacement of seeds. So understand this again. It is about better quality seeds to be produced. Replacement capacity should be understood. Like I'll tell you what I mean there. Normally it is suggested that the non-hybrid seeds should be replaced on an annual basis and the hybrid seeds should be replaced every 3 years. All right, if there are hybrid seeds, अगर दो जीन्स को मिला के सीड बनाए गए तो उन्हें 3 साल में रिप्लेस करें, और नॉन हाइब्रिड है तो हर साल रिप्लेस करें. रिप्लेस करना मतलब don't keep using the same seed again and again to grow the crop. All right, that is about replacing the seed. I'm coming to that. So that is one factor. Now, apart from that, what is suggested is that when you ask the development of these seeds, the idea should be to develop better seed protection. All right, that better warehousing, better places where seed can be stored and then released to the farmers as and when they are needed. Cost of seed is one of the bigger costs that we suffer from in agriculture. कि जो cost of seed है वो हमारे काफी higher cost में से एक है, उन्हें कम किया जा सकता है. So if we can reduce the cost of seed in agriculture, it will be better. Now another is that when it, like this is a suggestion that has been given even by Professor Swaminathan, that when it comes to genetically modified crops, we should be scientific in temper rather than obdurate. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Obduracy is, one group says that is the panacea, that is the cure, bring genetically modified crop and you will solve all the problems. Other group says don't bring it at all, we won't even allow a field trial. Now that is the challenge part. If it is a genetically modified crop, bring along, do a field trial, do the simulation trial first, then we have a genetic engineering approval committee. Let them approve it. If they approve it, do a field trial. If the field trials over 4 or 5 years show nothing negative as projected, go ahead and do things. If they show something projected as negative, don't do it. Now that is a scientific temper. That is how we should go about it. Unfortunately, in India, we become ideologically motivated. So either we start supporting it blindly or we start opposing it blindly, and the opposition is even more intense. Understand that. So this is where the challenge comes in. That we need to develop that scientific temper. कुछ लोग बोलते हैं GES, अपना बात ही बोलने लगते हैं, ये हो जाएगा, GESE फिर नहीं हटा ही देते हैं, फिर लोग ही बोले. Why have a GESE? Then whatever people say will be true. So even with respect to GM mustard, we saw that happening of late. So again I'll repeat, if somebody asks you what about genetically modified crops, the basic stand you should take is that genetically modified crops, in any case, we are importing materials of genetically modified crop. For example, the canola oil that people take in India. And they are edible oil. वो genetically modified crop से बनकर आते हैं. जो cotton seed oil है, वो genetically modified crop से बनकर आते हैं. तो हम बाहर से import करते हैं genetically modified crop की चीजें, तब हमारे शरीर को वो खराब नहीं करेंगे. पिछले 20-25 साल में खराब नहीं किया, लेकिन अपने देश में बनाएंगे तो खराब करेंगे, ऐसा हमारा मानना है. ये मुझे थोड़ा unscientific लगा हमेशा. I always felt that there is a whole business that we create then, and we say that no, we will import GM crop, and that is okay, and those products are okay. But if you try making it in India, we will oppose it. So I think that is where we should get a little conscious. I deliberately did not make you write about GM seed in the answer, and I don't make you write it ever, because I don't know who will be correcting your copy. And India has a huge, sentimental thought on that among professors. तो मैं कुछ लोगों से मिलता हूं जो बहुत अपोज्ड हैं इससे, और अगर बाई चांस आपने GM क्रॉप लिख दिया और उनके हाथ आपकी कॉपी लग गई तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगी. So I didn't make you write GM crop mainly because of that. On a personal note, my thinking is this only, that when we say this might happen, well, many people had said that as we liberalize, India will face bankruptcy within 10 years. We didn't. Many people had said that GST will never collect the kind of tax that earlier tax system collected. It did. It did today. Many people still say, lying, again I repeat, but still say that corporate tax reduction has resulted in no increase in corporate tax collection in India. While if you check Indian budget, 2019, the year in which corporate tax were reduced, 2019-20, we had a corporate tax collection of 5.2 lakh crore rupees, and 2022, we have a corporate tax collection of 8 lakh crore rupees. Now that's an increase of 2.8 lakh crore rupees, almost a 50% increase in a span of 3-4 years, in spite of COVID pandemic and the slowdown that has come because of that. And the corporate tax buoyancy is more than 1.8. What I'm trying to tell you is sometimes our belief systems make us say that this will be wrong, this will not happen. Okay, test it and check it whether it's wrong or not. If it's wrong, don't do it. If it's right, go ahead and do it. Some people say, no, field trial will mean it will enter the food chain. How? If I'm doing a controlled trial, how will it enter the massive food chain? I tried asking this question from some of my friends who know science and technology also. They couldn't answer it. They said, no, it will. How? I mean, there has to be a mechanism how it enters. But their answer was, no, no, it will. Now, it will means that I'm trying to convince you by saying, look, I'm saying it and hence you should accept. It doesn't work. I should have a reason to why you should do what you do. So that is about genetically modified crops. I will be giving you a small write-up on it later on in India after 91, but I will keep even that write-up very diplomatically correct, so that you don't lose your marks in the examination hall. But again, I suggest that if somebody in the interview board asks you about it, be forthright and say, sir, it's an unknown quantity, so why not do the tests? And we have GEAC, an institution, so why bother? Let's have faith in GEAC. Let's conduct the test according to what they are suggesting, and then let's wait for the results as they come. That should be your approach always. All right. I had a hand raised? Yes, yes. But Pink Revolution is mutton, meat. No, it does, because in any case, it's a part on the field, no? It's allied activity. Because it's neither technological nor institutional. It's not a reform. It's like beekeeping. So it's an action you take. Reform means you change the structure. All right. Seeds are replaced, that you use a seed to grow a crop. You can do it over 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, and then you use a new seed. That is replacement of seed. All right. No, no. The crop will also give you seed. And that's not new seed. It's a seed coming out of the crop from the old seed. All right. That is the idea. They are not clear. It's almost similar as cryptocurrency. They don't say anything. But in generally speaking, when they are saying that we are promoting it or we are permitting it, they are for it. That is maybe the guess. All right. Again, I repeat, if you don't do a scientific study and everybody only claims, it doesn't remain science after that. Yes. That is seed replacement. That if seeds don't remain productive. All right. Yes, yes. That is what, again, there are opposition to that. So even if you voluntarily choose, you can't go beyond the GEAC norms. You understand that? Okay. Then you write the third point, irrigation reforms. Third point, irrigation reforms. And within that, you write demand side reforms. All right. Again, there is a question that can India sustain its food demand through organic farming? We don't need to do that much of organic farming actually. So I think that won't be needed, to be honest. That we don't need to shift to organic farming. And again, let me discuss agriculture in India after 91, you will get me better. Another thing is that when people say that we should not increase the amount of GM crops, well, either it should be zero if it is creating trouble for us, or it should be allowed on all accounts, no, Aditya? And it will affect pollinators in the long term. We have no proof of that, man. That is my point, that get a proof, do the experiment, and then maybe we can get, we can get the factor. ये जितनी बातें कह रहे हो ना वेंकटेश, invasive alien species, superweed, and so on, don't forget, Swaminathan sir is completely saying that even the crops in 1966 were GM crops. You get me one quote from him which says that he is against GM crop. You check on YouTube one of his videos where he's saying that end of the day, even the crops introduced in 1966 was GM crop. Parliamentary committee has recommended a ban on transgenic seeds which are different from GM crops. I think you are mixing up too many things. Hindu लिखता है ये सारी बातें बट किसी भी एडिटर की बात आंख बंद करके क्यों मानते हो? थोड़ा और रिसर्च करें इसके ऊपर। द हिंदू में तो आप एक बात सोच के देखिए, जब एक मैं जीएम क्रॉप के डिटेल में जाऊंगा भी नहीं डिस्कशन में, क्योंकि बेसिक आंसर यही है कि हम नहीं जानते। हम सब लोग बोल रहे हैं, जब लोग कहते हैं कि ऐसा हो जाएगा वैसा हो जाएगा, हमारे पास कोई फील्ड स्टडी का रिपोर्ट नहीं देते। वो बोलते हैं ऐसा देखा गया है, ऐसा हो सकता है। देर आर जीएम क्रॉप्स यूज्ड ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड एट द मोमेंट. When Indians are importing it, we are going abroad and consuming it. So it is not that GM crops are something new for us. Understand that. And again, I am not saying at all that hence go ahead and accept it. I'm saying why aversive to experiment? My point is just that. भाई एक्सपेरिमेंट करने में क्या प्रॉब्लम है? अगर आपके जेनेटिक इंजीनियरिंग अप्रूवल कमेटी कहते हैं कि इसका फील्ड ट्रायल हो सकता है, एक फील्ड ट्रायल करके देख लेते हैं 5 साल के लिए। कंट्रोल ट्रायल कर लेते हैं, उस फील्ड को सेग्रीगेट कर देते हैं, कवर करके रख देते हैं और चेक करके देख लें 5 साल में क्या होता है। अगर जो भी वीडिंग है और यूजेनिक्स हैं या कंट्रोल ऑफ नेचर है, ऐसा कुछ नजर आता है तो बोलेंगे हाँ भाई ये तो गलत है। और एक डायलॉग से हमेशा बचना चाहिए, दैट वी आर ट्राइंग टू प्ले गॉड एंड ऑल, बिकॉज व्हेन वी गो फॉर प्लास्टिक सर्जरी एंड चेंज आवर नोज एंड चेंज आवर हेयर, वी आर प्लेइंग गॉड. It all starts with putting a filter on my own picture. So be careful there. It's not about playing God, it's about whether it's dangerous for humanity and earth and other things in biosphere or not. If it is not, go ahead and do it. That way, if somebody like us would have been there 1,000 years ago, they would not have permitted agriculture, because that leads in tilling of soil, killing earthworms. They wouldn't have permitted that. Understand this. We are based on that survival. When you are breathing, you are killing bacteria. या फिर आप कहना चाहते हो कि छोटे लाइफ फॉर्म का वो इंपॉर्टेंस नहीं है जो बड़े लाइफ फॉर्म का है, कि नहीं बैक्टीरिया मर गए तो कोई बात नहीं है, एंटीबायोटिक भी मत खाओ। आप सोच के देखिए, इस आर्ग्यूमेंट को बोल रहा हूं, इसे स्ट्रेच करके कहीं भी ले जाया जा सकता है। जब हम आर्ग्यूमेंट को अगर स्ट्रेच करें तो, कि अगर हम लाइफ फॉर्म को लेकर चिंतित हैं तो ये एसी नहीं चलना चाहिए, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की यूज मिनिमाइज हो जानी चाहिए, ड्रिलिंग फॉर ऑयल नहीं होना चाहिए। ये सारी चीजें तो लाइफ फॉर्म को नुकसान पहुंचाती है। सी वाटर पॉल्यूट करते हैं हम पॉलिथीन यूज करके, वो नहीं करना चाहिए। इन सभी चीजों में तो हम गॉड ही प्ले कर रहे हैं, दैट इट्स एंथ्रोपोसीन। So we got to be careful that what we are doing, is it going to be harmful in the longer run, and if it is, don't do it. If it is not, and if we can rectify what we are doing, if we can do the cost benefit analysis and the benefits outweigh the costs, do it and use the part of the benefit to compensate for the costs that happened. That is what training in economics will teach you and has taught me. That everything will have a cost and benefit. So measure the cost, measure the benefit. If the benefit is higher than the cost, then take that benefit and compensate those who are losing, and that makes you better off. Kaldor-Hicks principle is what I am sharing with you. So this is the basic idea that we have to talk about. Just take it as that. I again repeat, there is nothing about whether genetically modified crops are right or wrong. Important is, we are not willing to test and conclude, is what I am generally suggesting we should not be doing. And then don't quote, I mean, the Hindu can quote it, but you cannot, and so you should not. Professor M.S. Swaminathan is on record saying that even 1966 revolution that we brought were modified crops. Different people say different things in different context. और मैं फिर रिपीट कर रहा हूं, कोई भी कुछ भी कहते हैं, आप सिंपल एक्सपेरिमेंट कर लीजिए। एक्सपेरिमेंट करने में हर्ज क्या है, मैं आज तक नहीं समझ पाया हूं। कंट्रोल्ड एक्सपेरिमेंट करके देख लेते हैं, अगर गलत होता है नहीं करेंगे, सही होता है कर लेंगे। ये बात समझने में मुझे नहीं लगता कोई रॉकेट साइंस बोल रहा हूं जो समझने में बहुत तकलीफ होगी। स्पीकिंग नॉर्मल साइंटिफिक टेम्पर। If somebody tells me, is India doing good in this phase or bad in this phase? I can never say a yes or no unless I have not conducted my hypothesis testing with a good sample data. कैसे बोल दूं ये अच्छा है या गलत है जब तक मैंने टेस्ट नहीं किया उसको? यही बात कह रहा हूं। तो आप सोच के देखिएगा इस पे, और अपने प्री ऑर्डेंड थॉट्स को थोड़ा अलग करके सोच के देखिएगा। अनफॉर्चुनेटली हमारे यूपीएससी में भी एक सिस्टम है, आप पढ़ते द हिंदू हैं, आपको पढ़ाने वाले पढ़ते द हिंदू हैं, तो जो द हिंदू कहता है वो बाइबल बन जाता है। उससे बचो। दैट्स नॉट द ओनली ट्रूथ। Read diverse, read more people, search on these things, and check what others have to say about it. Check the pros and check the cons, and you will get a result that will help you in getting a balanced view on things rather than just an overview. Anyways, yes, I had few hands raised. Yes. 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 Yes, field tests can be conducted like that. In fact, even in Kottayam, they are doing this field test. Kottayam district, they're doing this field test where they have covered the entire area. And they're testing whether this works now or not. So there are various ways in which it can be done. But again, I'll repeat, do it with all honesty. Check in 4 or 5 years if it works. And if it doesn't work, leave it alone. I'll tell you what kind of debate this has become, the genetically modified thing debate. Whether Ramayana happened or not, whether Mahabharat happened or not. I'm seriously telling you. Now remember, if you say it happened, people say, look, you don't have a proof. But then when people say it did not happen, again the problem is that you don't have a proof. Britishers used to tell us that India was always an agricultural and rural economy and was never an urban system till they discovered Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Till then, it was thought that we were always, the rural system. अब सोचो जब मोहनजोदड़ो और हड़प्पा डिस्कवर हुए, तो कौन बेवकूफ साबित हुआ? जो रिलीजियसली बोलते थे कि ये हो ही नहीं सकता, तुम कभी अर्बन थे ही नहीं. इसी को मैं नॉन साइंटिफिक कहता हूं. What is the best answer? Neither do type 1 error nor do type 2 error, or at least minimize their probabilities. जब आप कहते हो महाभारत हुआ ही नहीं, तो आप रिस्क रन कर रहे हो ऑफ डूइंग अ टाइप 1 एरर, ऑफ रिजेक्टिंग अ ट्रू नल. जब आप कहते हो महाभारत पक्का हुआ, आप टाइप 2 एरर का रिस्क रन कर रहे हो. तो दोनों केस में प्रूफ्स नहीं है ना हमारे पास, हुआ या नहीं हुआ. तो साइंटिफिक आंसर क्या होगा? पता नहीं. That is the scientific answer. If you ask a scientist, the normal answer will be, I don't know. Answer cannot be it did or it didn't. But that is the genetically modified crop debate also. It is very good, it is very bad. No, do a test and prove it to me. And I will be happy accepting it. But in India, we say we don't even test it. That is the challenge. So please keep it in mind. I'm just highlighting something to you. Please keep it in mind that test it and check it and you get the result. Just keep that as a standard answer. These questions can arise. I would not have entertained 20 minutes in my classroom on this question if I had not feared that this question can be in your interview board. क्योंकि मेंस तक तो तुम इसको अवॉइड कर सकते हो, घुमा फिरा के लिख सकते हो. इंटरव्यू बोर्ड में तो पिन पॉइंटेड सामने हो फिर, और वो पूछ रहे हैं तुम्हारा क्या विचार है. तो ये नहीं कह सकते मेरा कोई विचार ही नहीं है सर. आप ही अपना विचार बताएं. You tell me what are your views on this. So you will have to give your view on it. So I was telling you that you can give a scientific view. Say that, sir, this is my view about it. If they still persist, what is your view? Say that I have not thought more than this. I thought that this is the best way to think, that whether we get the result from the scientists themselves. And I again suggest, before believing and accumulating all your arguments on one side, do some research and try contradicting the arguments just for the sake of a balanced view. If you get no arguments on the other side, in spite of all research, I'm happy. It means you have known the ultimate truth. But everything will have a system where you will have some arguments for, some arguments against, check them and then reach a conclusion. Otherwise, your answer sheet will become so skewed in one side that you will be marked low. The point is that. My concern when I talk to you in the classroom is only your answer sheet that you will write finally. To be honest to you, nothing else is in my mind. तो अपने आंसर शीट को बैलेंस्ड बना के रखो. प्रोज और कॉन्स दोनों की बातें पता होनी चाहिए. अगर सिर्फ एक ही बात लिखोगे तो नंबर कट के ही मिलेंगे. ये पक्की बात है. So be careful in your development also. All right. And another thing is, everything should not be looked at with politics in mind. Look at few things with the scientific system in mind. Yes. It has been used since 20 years in India. And there is no evidence of water table going down in cotton producing districts of India. They did not put you with any such data. That is my point, no? Few things are talks, few things are data. If BT cotton would have been so bad for water, then all the areas growing BT cotton should have had a depletion of water table. At least 90% of those areas, 70% of those areas, there is no depletion of water table, at least scientifically seen. How do you do that? I have done a two-step regression analysis on that. You know, the depletion of water table is larger in areas growing rice compared to areas growing BT cotton, and even larger in areas growing sugarcane. तो तुम देखोगे ऐसे आर्टिकल्स में नंबर्स नहीं रहते, बातें रहती हैं, और मुझे उसी बात पे आपत्ति होती है. अगर मैं 4 दिन ना खाऊं तो मैं भी फिट हो जाऊंगा, तो करके दिखाऊं ना ऐसा. बोलने से सिर्फ कैसे बात बनेगी? होता है या नहीं देखें तो आप, या डेटा दूं कि ऐसा किया पास्ट में. तो ये समझा रहा हूं that people will give you all sorts of proofs which will be without data set. If somebody says that genetically modified cotton reduces water supply, or genetically modified cotton created weeding, we don't have incidences of that. My point is just that. At least the empirical evidence doesn't support it. So be careful about the empirics, I always say that. Anyways, you come to that. Within irrigation reforms, on demand side reforms, now see, demand side reforms mean, how do farmers demand irrigation? What are the changes you would like there? So you write within that, first, right choice of crop, right choice of crop, that is, right choice of crop, that is, avoiding water intensive crop, avoiding water intensive crop in dry land or arid region, avoiding water intensive crop in dry land or arid regions. That is one. That choose the right type of crop that you can have to begin with. Second, you write, applying right irrigation techniques, applying right irrigation techniques like drip irrigation for row crops, drip irrigation for row crops, comma, sprinkler irrigation for standing crops, sprinkler irrigation for standing crops, to reduce wastage of water. I can believe we understand the idea of drip irrigation, that you will use pipes and connect it to the root of the plant, and then drop by drop the water will reach the roots, and that will mean that productivity remains high. In fact, sprinkler irrigation is another micro irrigation technique. These are all micro irrigation technique. They will irrigate a particular field. So sprinkler irrigation is useful in crops like rice, etc., where otherwise the practice in India is standing water system, that you will put water in the field and the water will remain and the rice crop will grow. A sprinkler irrigation directly targets the crop. The sprinklers will be attached to the crop roots again, and the crop will get water whenever water is released. So you don't need to keep standing water. With rice crop and standing water, methane emanation has also been experienced. So sprinkler irrigation can help in controlling that. And below that you write, correct choice of cattle feed. Third point, yeah. Correct choice of cattle feed where farm grown cattle feed, correct choice of cattle feed where farm grown cattle feed, farm grown cattle feed should be encouraged, over processed cattle feed. farm-grown cattle feed should be encouraged over processed cattle feed. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Farm-grown cattle feed will imply that relatively drier crops will also be processed, like say jowar or bajra. They'll become the residue will become the cattle feed, and that can be used better. Processed cattle feed mean that will reduce the demand for drier crops, and that will further induce the farmers to grow crops which are more water intensive. That is why farm-grown cattle feed like corn and shields, they are much better than a processed cattle feed. Then you write below that supply side reforms. That cattle feed can be farm grown. A farm grown cattle feed encourages drier crops which use less water compared to cattle feed which is processed in nature. Right? That is the idea. Okay, now you write supply side reform. Supply side reform means how do you make it easier? How do you make it easier for suppliers to supply water to the system and less wasteful? All right. So you write first within that in supply side reforms, you write using more localized source, by developing local ponds, rivers, etc. So, rather than relying on only groundwater extraction, rely on local sources of water, ponds, rivers, rejuvenate them, get the water back, and that will help you in better irrigation mechanism. Second, developing small irrigation structures, like check dams, to promote careful use of water. Like, the water should not slide down. If you create check dams, small dams, store water and release them when you need it for the field. So that way you will conserve water. Supply side focuses more on conservation of water, creating more water supply. All right. And third, you write, developing rainwater harvesting techniques, to keep groundwater recharged. So this is supply side in irrigation. Now I will teach you India after 91, and I will talk to you about irrigation subsidy and problems in Indian irrigation system. There again I will remind you of these discussions because they remain valid till today. That even today if somebody asks us what should be done for irrigation development in India, these 5-6 points and their explanation in 10, 15 words will help you get 90 words of content, and then introduction, conclusion, 150 word answer. All right, so that is what you should keep in mind, that points and elaboration. Now, there is another thing we need to do which is called institutional reforms in agriculture. Now, what are these institutional reforms? We come to that. Row crops are like sugar cane vikas, जो एक row में grow होते हैं. Demand side means controlling the demand for water. I hope you got the point on cattle feed, Kashish. I explained it once more in the class. I'll do it quickly once more, that cattle feed which are comparatively, from processing industry are more water intensive. If they're grown on field naturally, they're less water intensive. जानवरों को जो खिलाने वाला चारा है वो है कैटल फीड. ऑलराइट, तो कैटल फीड जो है, जो आप चारा आप अगर फील्ड से ग्रो करते हैं तो वो वाटर इंटेंसिव कम होता है. जैसे आपके क्रॉप रेसिड्यू जो है जिनको भूसा कहते हो, वो खिला दिया जानवर को, तो वो वाटर इंटेंसिव कम है. लेकिन अगर आप प्रोसेस्ड कैटल फीड लाएंगे, यू विल अगेन नीड टू put more water and use more water. That is the idea of saving it. That demand less water, demand side reform, supply water with conservation and storage facility, supply side reforms. Now see, when we talk about institutional reforms, the first thing that we need to do, one within this, is credit policy reform. Credit policy reform. If you would come to page 28 in your notes, page 28, you will see a topic, improving the credit system. I hope you can reach there. Page 28 in your notes, you will see a topic, improving the credit system. So that is an institutional reform. It has some, I've given you some of the points there, but I just wanted you to note them down in point wise terms. तो जो explanation है तुम्हें यहाँ से मिल जाएगा, मैं आपको points दे रहा हूँ, इसी paragraph को summarize कर रहा हूँ, all right? That you will be able to know that, okay, these are the points, will make it easier for you to remember in the exam, and explanation you can use from the paragraph. So one is creation of microcredit institutions through government support for better outreach to small farmers, then promoting self-help groups. These are groups with at least 20 people and they are developed for a common purpose. The members can lend and borrow among each other. Sometimes the government also infuses capital into them. So, that's another thing, promoting self-help groups. Self-help groups are groups with at least 20 people, and they are developed for a common purpose. The members can lend and borrow among each other. So there can be farming self-help groups, there can be agricultural marketing self-help groups, and there can be business self-help groups. So developing those self-help groups, 20 odd people, and they will develop this group, they will lend and borrow among each other. That will assure that some amount of microcredit again can be practiced. Microcredit means credit at the local level through a smaller institution. लोन जो एक छोटा इंस्टीट्यूशन दे छोटे लेवल पे, लोकल लेवल पे, तो वो माइक्रो क्रेडिट इंस्टीट्यूशन होते हैं. कभी कभी तो इनका टोटल कैपिटल 1 लाख रुपया होता है. दैट्स इट, 1 lakh rupees total capital, lending to people 2,000 rupees each, 1,000 rupees each, 5,000 rupees each, because the small farmers might be needing that. All right, so developing that, promoting them, that's another thing. So one, creation of microcredit institution. Second, promoting self-help groups. The third thing that can be done providing more loans through interest subvention scheme. Interest subvention scheme means charging lesser interest rate than market rate. So providing more loans through interest subvention schemes, that is charging more loans through interest rates as compared to market rate. And another is providing insurance security. You can take that as the next point. Providing insurance security to small farmers which will assure the creditor and help in getting loans. Approved. अगर मैं एक छोटा किसान हूं और मेरे पास इंश्योरेंस फैसिलिटी है, तो मुझे जो लोन देंगे वो कन्विंस्ड रहेंगे कि अगर इनका क्रॉप डूब भी जाता है तो भी ये मेरे पैसे वापस कर पाएंगे. And then getting loan becomes easier. All right, that if I am a small farmer, I have insurance, my creditor will be assured, something goes wrong, I will still get the money. And then getting the money becomes easier as compared to when I am not secured. So insurance facility development indirectly helps in credit facility development. All right, that is the idea. So these are the points for credit institutional reforms, that how do you create credit for small, marginal, medium scale farmers. Then the other reform that we need, we have Fasal Bima Yojana, so the government can give a subsidy on the premium, and the farmers have to pay a lesser premium. No, see, that is the point. The moral hazard will arise only when you are incentivizing the farmer that you will get more money if your crop is destroyed. You understand that? But otherwise, they have no incentive to destroy the crop. In some cases they are, in some cases there is none. All right, the collaterals are demanded in some cases. Like for example, if it is somebody from outside the rural system, then they can demand collateral. But generally, if it's a self-help group or a microcredit institution, collaterals are very less. Well, Dhanlakshmi Bank was one such. It has now grown into a small bank, small finance bank. All right. Okay. Then the other reform we do need, or second institutional reform, is marketing reform. Now, in GS paper, they have asked this question once, and I will elaborate on it more when I teach you India after 91, but I'm just highlighting few things to you. So when they say marketing reforms, one is upstream problems of marketing, upstream problems of marketing. Upstream problems of marketing is after harvesting the crop, and before the crop has reached the market. That is upstream problem. क्रॉप को हार्वेस्ट करने के बाद लेकिन मार्केट तक अभी पहुंचा नहीं है, तब क्या प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं, उन्हें ठीक करना. ऑलराइट, So one problem that we see, upstream problem, one is lack of crop storage facility on the field. And once you know the problem, you will know the reform. Like lack of crop storage facility on the field. So what is the reform then? If lack of crop storage facility is the challenge, then the reform is developing storage facility on the field. Developing storage facility on the field. What does that do? It makes sure that the crop doesn't get destroyed before being marketed. All right, if you develop a storage facility on the field, it makes sure that the crop doesn't get destroyed before being marketed. So the farmer will get their money. All right, that is one factor. The second challenge that we have upstream before reaching the market, lack of proper connectivity to the market. Lack of proper connectivity to the market. That's the second challenge that we face. That connectivity to the market is poor. All right. Again, the solution, the reform that we will need, promoting transportation facility to access the market. Promoting transportation facility to access the market. All right, like rail, like the way we run Krishi Rail, Krishi Udan. These are access to the market, that you promote things so that people can reach out to the market. And third, again remember, these are all upstream problems. Upstream means the crop has been harvested and I am not yet in the market. The third, lack of information about best price and bargaining systems. Lack of information about how do you create the best price. Like, okay, finding out this is the best price I can find. This is how I will bargain with the producer, with the trader. All right, that again, the farmer is lacking in that institutional development. So what do we do for that? We create state level regulatory body with information about fair price in the market. State level regulatory body. At state level, there can be a regulatory body established and they can keep publishing, printing. That was what APMC market was expected to do. Unfortunately, they didn't do it. So we need a state level regulatory body which keeps printing, publishing, online reporting that this is the fair price, this is what you can expect in the market, so that you are not manipulated in the market. All right. So this is upstream. अगर कभी भी पूछते हैं upstream issues in agriculture, marketing, तो ये points हैं और ये उनके solution हैं. Upstream issues. Then there are downstream issues. Downstream issues are once you reach the market, then the problems. All right, that okay, I have taken my crop to the market. Now what are the problems? So you take that, you write downstream problems of agricultural marketing. downstream problems of agricultural marketing. Again, I repeat, when we use the word downstream, downstream means after reaching the market. The first in that we see is poor infrastructure facility reflected in lack of storehouse, and drying facility for crops in the market. So this is our challenge one, poor infrastructure facility. The infrastructure facility goes bad, drying facility for crops is missing. और drying facility means आप फसल जब लाते हैं वो गीली होती है. The crop is wet, you have just taken it out of the field, you bring it to the market. So you need to spread it and dry it. Now many markets are expected to have this drying facility. Unfortunately, in many such cases, in India it is observed that those drying facilities go missing. Another is storage facilities inside the market. All right, that I have brought the crop, now I need to store it so that when I find the right buyer, I sell it. That is the missing link again. Yes, yes. Yeah. Well, so ideally you would expect that to happen, but in many cases when the farmers know that the crop has to reach the market soon so that they can find the market and sell it, and suppose if they are within the 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers radius of the market, they need drying facilities within the market. All right, so they do it, go over there. Sometimes what is also done is to check the right quality of the crop. The crops are washed all over again. So again, when they are washed all over again, you need to dry them to weigh them after that. All right, so you need drying facilities even within the market. Then the second challenge that we see here, so of course, the solution again is as usual, provision of state support to agricultural markets to assure that these facilities are well maintained. You know, provision of state support to agricultural markets to assure that these facilities are well maintained. It's not that the facilities are absent. The problem is the facilities are there but not maintained. That becomes the challenge. The second challenge that we see cartelization of the market by few traders who have the license results in lesser returns for the farmers. Cartelization of the market, because you know, in every market there will be limited number of traders who are allowed to participate. They cartelize the market among themselves. And then they make sure that the farmers gets lesser amount of money because all of them are quoting a lesser price. ऑलराइट, अगर सभी लोग कम प्राइस बोलेंगे, फार्मर के पास कोई चारा नहीं रहता, पेरिशेबल कमोडिटी है, स्टोर हाउस की फैसिलिटी है नहीं, एंड में जल्दी से बेचकर जो पैसा मिला लेना पड़ता है, जो फार्मर के लिए डिस्ट्रेसिंग है. Alright, the traders are gaining, but the farmers lose out because of that. So it is important then, what do we do? Apart from developing this facility, regulatory institution should be set up at state government level and alternative markets should be developed for farmers. That's another thing, that regulatory institution is a must. We must have a regulatory body at state level, and that regulatory body can then allow the farmers to sell their crops even to private traders, non-licensed. In case there is any grievance, there can be a grievance redressal cell, and the farmers can have the freedom. If they want, they can sell it to the private traders. If they want, they can sell it to the APMC market. And private traders can be allowed to participate in the APMC market. So this is something that gradually we have tried doing. It's not succeeding in India because there's a good enough cartel of the APMC market traders. They won't let it happen so easily, because they're gaining a lot of it. And the question is about thousands of crore rupees. If you look at total amount of trading that takes place in an APMC market, it's close to around 23 lakh crore rupees that we talk about. तो 23 लाख करोड़ रुपए का बिजनेस है ये, और कुछ लोग इसको कंट्रोल कर रहे हैं, तो इतने आसानी से तो नहीं छोड़ेंगे चीज़ों को वो. ऑल राइट, अगर हम सिर्फ पंजाब, हरियाणा, वेस्टर्न उत्तर प्रदेश की बात करें, द टोटल ट्रेडिंग गोज अबव 7 लाख करोड़ रुपीज. सो इट बिकम्स, गवर्नमेंट सब्सिडाइज ट्रेडिंग की सिर्फ बात करूं तो गवर्नमेंट सब्सिडाइज ट्रेडिंग गोज अबव 60,000 crore rupees. So it becomes a huge market space in which we are prevailing. So obviously changes won't happen, or people won't allow it to happen very soon. But gradually, as the government now setting up a regulatory body can be nobody's complaint. That we are setting up a regulatory body to make sure that farmers are not done any injustice to. All right. So this is something where institutional development is needed. So that's the institution that we are talking about. And then there is one more thing that we need to do, or there is one more challenge. Poor grading, packaging, and measurement facility implies that cost of grading is high, which restricts the farmers from selling their crops in a larger market. So, that's another challenge that we get. There is poor grading, packaging, and measurement facility. Grading the crop, whether it's a good quality, bad quality, average quality, marketing the crop, packaging the crop. These things, again, there are new private sector firms now which are being encouraged by the government. They're coming up in the system, but they're still much less compared to what is needed. What do we need to do again? We need to make sure the solution, encouragement should be given to agri-tech firms which use digital technology to promote on-the-field grading and packaging facility. This is already happening in India. In fact, Punjab is doing pretty well in this. Haryana is doing pretty well in this, especially northern Haryana. and parts of Tamil Nadu are doing pretty well in this. That agri-tech companies have been established, they contact the farmers, they take a small fee, they grade their product, they launch it on eNAM, they find producers via eNAM, the traders via eNAM, and get into contract for the farmers. So they give kind of consultancy services to the farmers. It is still in a very fledgling state. ये भी बहुत शुरुआती दौर में है, बहुत ज़्यादा वॉल्यूम नहीं बढ़ा है इसका, लेकिन ये होना भारत में शुरू हो गया है. It's already happening in India. So this is something that we can do to improve upon the post-harvesting problems that we observe here. So remember, this is about all challenges are post-harvesting. All challenges are related to pre-marketing, post-marketing, that once you reach the market, before the market. But these are all related to institutions that you create. Create institutions which can grade and produce, create institutions which can store the product, create institutions which will make sure farmers get credit easily, and so on. All right. In fact, there is one more talk I will teach you later, because that will come when I'm teaching you India after 91. We have also started a system called National Warehouse Depository Receipt, NWDR. So with National Warehouse Repository Receipt, the government says that you can deposit your food grain or any other agricultural good to the warehouse. The warehouse will give you a receipt that they have this much amount of your food grain with themselves, which will create a value for that food grain, and you can use that receipt to take loans from the banks for your next crop. कि किसान को अपना सामान बेचना क्यों जरूरी है? वो बेचेंगे तब तो अगले फसल के लिए खरीद पाएंगे चीजें. तो अगर उनके पास नेशनल वेयर हाउसिंग डिपॉजिटरी रिसिप्ट हो, तो वो रिसिप्ट के बेसिस पे लोन ले सकते हैं और अपनी अगली फसल की चीजें खरीद सकते हैं. सो देयर डिपेंडेंस ऑन मनी लेंडर्स विल go down. That's again an institutional development that India has done. That is a welcome change we are doing. But I'll teach you about it when I'm teaching you India after 91. But this is the basic idea again to work with. Now, so this is there that we have. Now, there is one more institutional reform that we need to do. We have again started doing it already. So one more institutional reform, that is 3. Provision of extension services. So, government needs to establish institutions to assure that farmers are informed about their optimum choice related to cropping system. It includes developing soil information, information about better irrigation choice, weather report, and research and development support. To begin with, these are extension services जो agriculture के beyond ले जा सकते हैं farmer को. So they become extension services in agriculture. Micro, mainly Yashasvi. I hope you heard the example of microcredit institution, the Dhanlakshmi Bank example I gave you. Yes, I will be covering the schemes with you. Shyam, don't worry. No, the point 1 of credit policy is feasible. It's already happening, Mahendra. There are so many microcredit institutions that are already in work. Connectivity is a problem. Marketing density can be a problem in few spaces. Amit, I'm answering your question. Marketing means तुम crop को बेचते कैसे हो तन्वी? How are you selling your crop is marketing. Well, we will discuss it, Kashish, about success of the programs when I discuss these schemes with you. Yes, regulatory body will be needed for entire agricultural marketing, Shyam. I'm answering your question there. Traders are not free to choose the price. Traders manipulate the price, Goldie, by controlling the market. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Right now, I'm giving you an idea of evergreen revolution. When I will discuss the schemes like Pradhan Mantri Soil Health Card, Fasal Bima Yojana, Krishi Sinchai Yojana, ENAM, PM Kusum, Operation Green, Agricultural Infrastructure Development Fund. These are all schemes I will be teaching you. Then you will understand better what's exactly happening and what are the further things needed. Apart from this, further support will be needed with respect to जिन जिन लोगों ने किताबें बंद कर ली थी उनसे क्षमा प्रार्थी हूं to develop so further support will be needed with respect to development of agricultural business enterprises. Agricultural business is a growing business in India. They call it agri-business. And in this agri-business, what they do is they connect the buyer and the seller. They make sure they inform the seller about what kind of products will find a better market. They can also develop contract farming for you. So this is agri-business. In fact, some of you might have, or somebody might here have done a course from Gokhale Institute where they give you MSc in agri-business, in economics. In masters, they have a course there. So that is again something where you are taught how to connect agricultural business with institutions around. So again, we need to institutionalize it, that how agricultural business development can be spread all over the place. So enterprise to assure that farmers get a diversified market. So remember, this is one part of the story. I will be adding many things to it on Evergreen Revolution, but for Evergreen Revolution, this is the story. All right. Now, I'm left with one more topic in agriculture, which is role of investment in agriculture, capital formation in agriculture. I've given you most of the notes, but I'll dictate few things more to you tomorrow. And after doing that, I will discuss two more things with you, जो industry से related है. Occupational structure development between 51 to 91. This was a question they had asked in past year papers, so I'll cover it with you. And there will be one more discussion on role of public sector and private sector in India before 91. All right. Just one thing, this Friday I will be giving you two more questions. And by this Friday, I will be solving the questions I gave you in the last week. All right, so I will be doing it in the class. You can use that to understand how to develop the answers to those questions. And two more questions I'll give you this Friday again. Will be in India after 91, क्योंकि वो continuity रहेगी पूरी. नहीं, अभी नहीं दूंगा. इसका conclusion दूंगा जब India after 91 पढ़ा चुका हूँ. No, this is continuation of the last point, extension services. All right. Okay, country delight. Why not? Surely. Thank you, all of you. Bye bye. I'll see you tomorrow then. Yes, yes. I'm not planning one. Yeah, there is already. If you are not coming, it's okay. You can always take notes from someone and ask me. But unfortunately, 8th, 9th, 10th already they have given a holiday, so it puts a pressure. Nothing else. All right. वो किसी से नोट्स ले लेना जरूर. ठीक है, नोट्स लेके पढ़ लेना, वो समझ आ जाएगा. डोंट वरी. और अदरवाइज 3 दिन के एक्सेसिबिलिटी के लिए ऑनलाइन सपोर्ट को मेल कर दो, तो वो तुम्हें वेंसडे, थर्सडे, फ्राइडे की एक्सेसिबिलिटी दे देंगे क्लास की. हाँ, नेक्स्ट है इसकी ऑनलाइन सपोर्ट को. ठीक है, सेम थिंग वही कर लो. हाँ, मेल कर दो, मिल जाएगा. थैंक यू दिव्यांशी. So thank you all of you online. I'll see you tomorrow then, 3 o'clock.